So this was the second one that I sent Christian some ideas for. I had a piece of plywood from an old door that I wasn't using. So that's what I made this out of. I just cut pieces of old plywood apart in order to make the structure. I really like using found material. So whatever you have at home or whatever you're able to use, that the plastic from an old sign can easily be the plastic that you were trying to figure out a use for from some consumer product that you had. I think as much as you can reuse, as much as you can reduce the impact that you're having, the better. So this Mason Bee house is just made out of wood. I'm going to put a plywood backing on it, but I didn't quite have that finished yet. I'm going to use hardwood. I went out to my wood pile for we have a wood stove, is how we heat our house. And I looked for hardwoods. So when I'm talking about hardwoods, I'm saying that they're not cedars or pine. Pine you can use, but it's not the best. Cedar you absolutely don't want to use. And then a lot of the Mason Bee research that I found talked about not wanting to use cedar, but I bet that Osage orange is not a great one either because of the toxicity. So you're wanting to try to find a hardwood. I went and looked and found some hackberry, and even if you're just finding old pieces of wood, hackberry is really easy to identify because of all of its warty, all of the warts on its wood. It would be good to also get things like oak or hickory. Those are probably pretty abundant where you are. So, or maple, those would all be good ones for you to use. So I used a drill and I drilled holes in these different pieces of wood. Yet again, I did a variety of sizes, but I didn't go too much above 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to put these in here. They're yet again, you need to have 6 inches of depth. And if you're not able to get 6 inches of depth, you need to make sure that I wasn't able to drill this hole, but you need to make sure that you're getting at least 4 inches. Because if you're not, 4 inches is the minimum amount of depth that you want. So I've got some wood in there. I'm gonna lift this up just a little. Can you see that? Okay, and then I'm gonna add in some other different components. So I'm adding in stems from different grasses that I have from my yard, and the insides of some of these grasses are really pithy, kind of like the milkweed. So I'm just going to use a longer drill bit piece to make those holes for them. So I've been clearing this out with a drill and a nail, and I'm going to just put 6-inch portions of these reeds. You want to have a flat surface as much as possible, and these two, even the reeds, they said burning them, making them black on the tips can be beneficial for the bees to actually be able to find them and use them effectively. But I'm going to fill in all of those empty spaces with these little 6-inch reeds. This one I'm going to be able to hang using, yet again, I live on a farm and I live next to a bunch of other farmers. So baling twine is abundant. So I'm going to use baling twine through the middle of it to fasten it to a tree. So you can kind of see that I'm just like filling in the empty spaces, the hollow spaces, to make things nice and tight. There's a lot of different grasses that you can use, a lot of different hollowed reeds that you can use. As long as something's not too moldy, I think that you could probably use it as long as you're using it responsibly and making sure that it only stays out for the few months that you're wanting to attract those bees. Okay, so I'm going to fill in this a little bit more. Other people sometimes put in straw, like just a bunch of straw loosely with some chicken wire in front of it. That's good. But from what I had read, I think that this making sure that you have enough reeds and filling that space in is preferable. You can also use dimensional lumber instead of logs, and that's what I was intending. Like, if you don't have fresh cut wood, you can use dimensional lumber as long as it's untreated. If you have treated lumber, don't use it. But untreated dimensional lumber, most dimensional lumber is pine or another kind of evergreen. As long as it's not cedar, it's fine to use dimensional lumber.